Here, our Super Tuesday political coverage continues, and of course, immigration is a big issue back home here, a hot issue for the voters. There's one Republican candidate who has taken a pretty tough stance on that issue. We're going to talk with Congressman Tom Tancredo right here after the break. Let's bring in Republican Congressman Tom Tancredo of Colorado, who joins me today on Capitol Hill. Congressman, good to see you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Let's talk about immigration and whether you think the Senate is moving toward an actual compromise. They have the compromise, but now is there a new compromise with Democratic leaders that you think will actually get this on the floor to be voted on?
It looks that way. I mean, everything that we can tell up here, that another closed-door meeting has been held, another small group of elitists who figure that they know better than anybody else in the country about how to handle this issue have come together with their agreement. Now they're going to see whether they can muscle any other senators into supporting them. I think it's probably about a 50-50 chance that they will get something out. In that regard, I guess it's my task to try to do over here, with others, of course, everything we can, build a little firewall to try to stop it.
Is there anything that could be done, an amendment to this bill or a provision that could be changed that would make it acceptable to you?
This is I call this the No Illegal Alien Left Behind Act, and there's nothing in it of any consequence from my point of view. If you want to do something about enforcement, right, which they keep talking about that's part of this bill, you don't need a bill. I mean, they say there's 300 miles of fence in the bill. We've already approved 700 miles of fence. And by the way, there's 2,000 miles of border. They talk about adding going to 18,000 border patrolmen from the present 15,000, something around there. We've already authorized 20,000. We did that 2 years ago. The White House hired 200. There is absolutely nothing you need to do in this bill, or I mean, at all, to tell you the truth, to actually enforce the law. You have to have the will to do so. All this bill is, all the Senate bill is an amnesty bill with a few little trinkets hung on there to make people think that it is something else having to do with enforcement. It's not. It's a pig. Even if they keep slathering lipstick on this pig, it's still a pig.
How much of an issue is this going to be as you campaign around the country and you have not held back when it comes to criticizing President Bush? Do you think conservatives feel betrayed by him?
He's a disaster. It's been a disaster in a number of ways. Certainly, he's a disaster on this issue. He thinks that this is his legacy. I mean, he keeps pushing this issue because he says doesn't say necessarily, but I think what's behind this is his desire to have a, quote, legacy. And I must tell you that the legacy that I think he's going to leave us, if he actually gets this thing through, is a Republican Party that's in disarray and a country that is even more balkanized than it is today.
Let me ask you about Iraq, the issues of foreign policy more generally. Why is it that you think others in this presidential field on the Republican side have not criticized the president as clearly and as frontally as you have here, particularly on the issue of foreign policy?
Well, of course, perhaps because they have supported the effort in the past. I certainly, I voted for the resolution originally going into Iraq. The fact is that everybody, I think, has their own reason for doing what they do, and I can't really, get into their minds and determine. I think they think, put it this way, it is possible that what they're thinking is that in a Republican primary, because you're talking to the most conservative, members of the party usually. I mean, you're talking to the hardcore for primary purpose in the primary, and they think that that's the lingo that's going to sell with them. Or it is possible that's exactly what they believe. So either one of those two things could be true. Around here, you never know.
Congressman, let me just ask you real quick about Iraq and David Petraeus, General Petraeus, who's going to be bringing a report to Congress in the fall. Clearly, this surge is not done, and it's not yielding the sort of results that some had anticipated. Yeah. What are your questions for Petraeus, and what do you think, how should the policy change when his report comes in?
Well, my questions would be directed more to the president at that time, to tell you the truth, after I listen to the report. And if it does not show the kind of progress that's necessary, then I would ask the president what he's going to do, because If you recall, and I do recall this very clearly, when he spoke to the nation on the issue of Iraq, he said, and I can almost quote him, he said, the patience of the American people is wearing thin. He said, when I'm going to establish a benchmark of November, and he said, by November, Iraq will be in control of Iraq. That is to say, the government of Iraq will be in control of all 18 provinces of the country. Now, that is something he said. It was a benchmark he established. If this is not being met, and, there's certainly some question as to whether we're going to be able to be there by November if things continue to go as they are, then what are his plans? Because I tell you, I think we have to disengage. We cannot withdraw from the region, but we must disengage. We cannot be the police or the constabulary force in Iraq. It will not work, and Iraq's going to have to solve this on their own. It's going to be bloody, undeniably. It's bloody now. But the fact is that it's going to be their problem. We have to be in the region to deal with issues that develop there, especially al-Qaeda related, but we have to disengage.
All right. Congressman and presidential candidate Tom Tancredo, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.